Joining us now with his reaction to the big speech last evening is Republican Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, who serves on both the Senate Finance Committee, Senate Budget Committee. We saw you walking through Stat Hall last evening, Senator, and I'm sure you enjoyed the speech. There's been a lot of comparisons to Bill Clinton, interestingly, this morning, simply for the length of time. He actually eclipsed Bill Clinton for the longest State of the Union in history. But I wonder if he invoked that "I feel your pain" message that Bill Clinton was so well known for, knowing that prices have been dogging people. Beyond blaming Democrats, did he acknowledge some of the challenges that people are living through?
I think so, and even more than that, gave him a message of hope of how we're digging ourselves out of this hole. Like you're pointing out, Joe Biden gave us 4 years, 50% inflation in housing and child care, health care, property insurance, those types of things. So we are in a deep hole. And I think the president said, okay, we've stopped the digging, and now we're starting to climb our way out of there. So I think mostly said, here's this message of hope. Macroeconomics look really good. Real wage growth was up $1,400 per job last year. That wages grew $1,400 per job over the rate of inflation. We got the price of gas coming down. The rent has come down 6 months in a row, the lowest rent in 4 years as well. So we're digging ourselves out of this hole. And I do think that President Trump gave this feeling of empathy, and that, again, that here's this message of hope that last year we set the table, this year it's the banquet.
Well, and of course, Senator, President Trump maintains that key to this economic messaging, empathetic, as you put it, is the idea that he is enacting tariffs on our trading partners in order to benefit economically the American people. We know he's having to change tact a little bit thanks to the Supreme Court, who has said his IEEPA tariffs were illegal. He suggested last night that there are other means he can pursue to enact those tariffs, that Congress is not needed, even though last I checked, Senator, I do believe the Constitution grants you the power of the purse. Should you be needed here?
Well, there's always this conflict between the three branches of government. That's the way the Founding Fathers meant it to be. As I read the Constitution and the laws, it looks like Congress gave him some more authority, that this Section 122 is going to allow him to have 3 months at a 10 to 15% tariff, and then he'll use those 301s as well. But regardless, what we do know about the tariffs is, number one, that inflation is in check, so the tariffs did not cause any more inflation, and they allowed the president to negotiate 10 trade deals with our 10 most important trade partners. He's used it on a geopolitical scale as well, forcing India to buy oil from America rather than Russia. So we do see some really good things coming out of those tariffs.
You're, of course, representing the great state of Kansas, and you serve on the Ag Committee. With that view from agriculture, Senator, do you need to see exemptions when it comes to soybeans or other crops, regardless of where the president sets these new tariff rates? You pointed out 122. That's only good for 6 months. 301 could look a lot different. How concerned are you about farmers in your state?
Well, look, I think the only way that China buys soybeans, so just 2 weeks ago, China doubled their soybean purchase. The only way they buy them from us rather than Brazil is because of these tariffs. The problem, the challenge in agriculture are input prices right now. It's the cost of fertilizer, the cost of chemicals. Again, they went up some 50% under Joe Biden, and they're not coming down yet. So I think that we can do some tariff relief on fertilizers. That's the moment as well. But President Trump has used these tariffs to negotiate really strong trade deals, specifically on value-add products. The American farmer makes money is when we turn corn into beef, when we turn sorghum into ethanol, that type of thing. So these trade deals that we've done are definitely prioritizing those value-add products.
Senator, you, of course, have a seat on the Budget Committee, and there's been some conversation, whether it's with the aim of codifying tariffs, which you may not think is necessary for Congress to do, or with other aims to enact the remaining elements of the president's agenda, of a second budget reconciliation package. No. Do you see any real prospect of that happening in a midterm election year?
I do, and I'm working towards that project. Specifically, the president wants us to focus on bringing down the cost of living, the cost of housing, the cost of health care, child care, property insurance, those types of things. So I think, health care is my specialty. You heard the president talk yesterday about Trump RX and codifying that in some way, as well as clipping the wings of the pharmacy benefit managers. And then our signature bill, of course, is our price tag bill, which forces every healthcare healthcare provider to show you the cost of your procedure, your lab, your x-ray up front as well. We think that by increasing competition, it'll bring the cost of healthcare down $1,000 a month for a family. And unfortunately, the only way we're going to get this done, I'm afraid, is through reconciliation. Heck, we may have to even finish the farm bill through reconciliation. I think my friends across the aisle are pretty dug in that they're not going to give President Trump any win. Those are things that should pass on a bipartisan basis, but based upon the actions of the Democrats that I see, they're not interested. So onward and upward with a reconciliation bill that can get by with 50 votes rather than 60.
Well, Dr. Marshall, you have to keep your stethoscope handy here because there was important testimony we want to ask you about in the U.S. Surgeon General nominee, Casey Means, before the Senate Health Committee. Of course, you are a member. Democrats highlighted a lot of concerns in questioning the approach to vaccine guidance, alleged ethics concerns, her paid promotion of wellness products on social media. Do you share those concerns?
I'm excited about Dr. Means being the next Surgeon General. Well, we can talk. She's not going to be focused on vaccines. Her focus is going to be on making America healthy again. That she's going to be focused on what real nutrition looks like, quality nutrition, getting away from processed foods, for instance, then decreasing the environmental toxins, decreasing the toxins in our food as well. I think there's a growing swell of people out there, and they're typically young moms and dads and a lot of grandmothers out there that want to make sure that their kids are healthier, that right now the people that are being born today, their life expectancy is lower than senior citizens. So I think that's going to be her focus. She's going to have an incredible opportunity to be a spokesperson. Much like when I was growing up, the Surgeon Generals led the cause to stop smoking. And then who was it? Dr. Cope that helped us get through the AIDS crisis as well. So I think this is a great moment. If we have 70-80% of Americans with a chronic disease of some sort, very much impacted by nutrition and a lack of exercise, we need to be focused on that side of healthcare. She'll do a great job with it.
Well, I guess we'll see when we have a vote to advance her nomination or a full confirmation vote on the Senate floor. Senator, I'm also wondering when, if ever, we're going to see a vote to fund the Department of Homeland Security, which is now shut down for day 12 we are in now. Do you have any sense of what the path forward and what timeline we're talking about here is?
Yeah, I think so. March 3rd is the first day that the TSA folks will be missing a paycheck. That's next week, March the 3rd. And I'm going to expect to see a very much of some type of a Schumer viral syndrome that day, that people are staying home because Chuck Schumer won't pay them. Chuck Schumer and President Trump are going to reach a deal eventually. I think it's going to come from the outcry of the American people say, look, we don't like standing in line, trying to get onto our airplanes, that type of thing. So maybe next week we'll see some movement. I sure hope so.
All right, Republican Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, thank you so much for joining us.